Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Baines, and I am a graduating biology major at Oakwood University, and I'm also the president of Oakwood Surgical Interest Association. I am so excited to be a part of this program, and I'm just going to pray over the program, over the success, so we could go ahead and get started. Dear God, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for placing us upon this earth so we could go ahead and learn about the wonders that you have created. Thank you for letting us be able to have the capacity to learn the things that you want to learn, the tenacity to continue the work that you have for us, and the ability to be able to share it with the world. Please help us as we are Christians in this world to continue to share your love and your drive for helping others through STEM. Thank you for being with women as they have gone through a lot, especially within the biology world. And please help us as we are highlighting exactly how important it is to us to show how Black women and just women in general have made an impact. In Jesus' name, we do pray. Amen. Thank you, everyone.
I am Kenneth Lyhing, Dean of the School of Arts and Sciences, and I am representing the Alabama Advanced Partnership for Gender Equity. This is funded by the National Science Foundation, and it consists of 5 institutions. The University of Alabama at Birmingham is the lead institution. The University of Alabama in Huntsville, Alabama A&M University, Myers College, and Oakwood University are partner institutions. The goals of the project are to implement changes in practices and policies that inhibit gender equity and inclusion in STEM at partner institutions. It's also to increase the representation and visibility of women, racial, ethnic minorities, and other social entities in STEM by improving recruitment, retention, and promotion practices and policies. The PI of the advanced grant is Dr. Colwick Wilson, who is the provost. Our president is Dr. Leslie Pollard, and co-PIs are Karen Ben Marshall, Elaine Vanderpool, Marlon Rem, myself, and also Lisa James. And our program assistant is Brianna Marshall. It is also my pleasure to introduce our moderator, who is familiar to most of us. That is Mrs. Kimberly Anderson. Kimberly Anderson is a native of California who now calls Alabama her home. She is a second-generation graduate of Oakwood University. Not only did her parents attend and graduate from Oakwood, so did her brothers, aunts, uncles, cousins, and now she has nieces and nephews who currently attend Oakwood. Kimberly anchors the 5, 6, and 10 p.m. newscasts on NBC 15 and the 7 p.m. newscast on the sister station UTV 44, WJTC. She joined the NBC 15 family in 2007, going to the Gulf Coast from WHNT TV in Huntsville, Alabama. Kim is a busy mom who takes time to be active in the community, donating countless hours to civic groups and nonprofit organizations. She's also very passionate about issues facing today's youth. Kim is a member of the National Association of Black Journalists and Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Inc. Even though her schedule can be very busy at times, Kim says that the most important part of her day is at the end, when she unwinds and gets to spend time with her husband, Clarence, and 3 beautiful children, Mac, Connor, and Kirkland. She calls them her best accomplishments. Join me in welcoming our moderator, Mrs. Kimberly Anderson.
Well, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Leslie Pollard, president of Oakwood University, and I am here this morning, of course, to welcome you and to thank you especially for attending today's very important presentation as we are celebrating women in STEM and seeking to identify ways in which we can better mentor young girls, young ladies, young women in these important fields. Let me share just a few statistics with you that provides a frame for the occasion that brings us together. And I read from a publication by the U.S. Census Bureau. Despite making up nearly half of the U.S. workforce, women are still vastly underrepresented in the science, technology, engineering, and math STEM workforce. Women made gains from 8% of STEM workers in 1970 to 27% in 2019, but men still dominated the field. Even though men made up only 52% of all workers, men constitute 73% of all STEM workers. STEM occupations account for nearly 7% of all U.S. occupations, and STEM workers play an important role in America's innovative capacity and global competitiveness. Those who work in STEM are our engineers, sociologists, informational security analysts, and others. And then as we think about this data from another research source, we find that the challenges are even greater for women of color. Women of color make up a small share of scientists and engineers, two branches, of course, of STEM. Despite accounting for over half of the college-educated workforce, according to this website, women in the United States made up only 29% of those employed in science and engineering occupations in 2017. And then when we begin to look at the science and engineering employees in the United States, women of color constituted about 11.5%. Asian women were 6%. However, Black women were 2.5% of all the scientists and engineers in the United States. What this tells us is that we have a tremendous challenge ahead of us, and that is bringing equity to the STEM workforce. But there's a bright spot. That bright spot is the HBCU impact. And I'm happy, of course, and proud to share that Oakwood University is a member, a UNCF member, and a proud belonging member to the HBCU community. We were founded in 1896, and now this year we celebrate our 125th year, beginning in the fall of 2021. And so when you think about HBCUs, just remember this, because they represent a unique glimmer of hope in this conversation about increasing women in STEM. Even though HBCUs are only 3% of all institutions of higher education, these same HBCUs produced between 1995 and 2004, 46% of all Black women who earned degrees in the STEM disciplines. This is a heartening statistic. In 2014, Black women represented the highest percentage of minority women who earned bachelor's degrees in computer sciences. And there are a number of HBCUs who contribute to this. HBCUs such as North Carolina A&T State University, Howard University, Florida A&M, Xavier University, and of course, Oakwood University. So it is important that HBCUs weigh in. And today, this initiative, voiced and advanced by Oakwood University and HBCU, is here to tell the story and to create an environment in which women can prosper and advance in STEM through appropriate mentoring and career guidance. We welcome you to this occasion, and may God bless you as you listen and learn, and then you leave to serve to help make STEM a more equitable profession for the women in our midst. May God bless you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Courtney Garnett, and I am the current president of Tri Beta Biological Honor Society. I am also a biology major and a graduating senior here at Oakwood University. Tri Beta is focused on introducing all of our bio majors into research so they have an equal opportunity to go off and serve in any field that they choose. I just wanted to welcome all of you today as we go for this program, and I hope that you are inspired as I know I will be. Have a good rest of your morning.
Good morning. It is my pleasure and my honor to introduce our guest speaker this morning. I do so from my position as administrator for grants at Oakwood University. And I also do so from the position of my gender as a woman. I am really, really excited about our speaker, Dr. Natalie King. Dr. Natalie King hails from the beautiful islands, too, of Jamaica and Cuba. And so we are excited to see her here, not only because of those beautiful islands from which she originates, but also because she is an alumna of Oakwood University. She earned her bachelor's degree in biology from Oakwood University in Huntsville, Alabama. She went on to complete a PhD in neuroscience from the University of Illinois at Chicago. Now, here's a significant point. She completed her PhD at the tender age of 26, making her one of the youngest and the first Afro-Latina to receive this degree in the 161-year history of the University of Illinois at Chicago. Dr. King's scientific work was primarily focused on understanding biological mechanisms responsible for autism and depression. And she spent most of her days, this is the unglamorous part, but the productive part. She spent most of her days working with human blood samples, reviewing the role of that critical neurotransmitter serotonin. And so we're interested this morning in hearing about her work because we know as a university that serotonin is critical for the management of mood and also for us to be able to learn. And so we're looking forward to hearing what she will say about this critical neurotransmitter. But her most important work this morning will be to encourage other young women to carve their path and to stay with it with intelligence and with a positive attitude, no matter what comes your way. And so Dr. King's graduate school experience was not all glorious because while she was triumphing in the area of her science, tragedy struck her very closely. Her father passed, and her friend, one of her friends, committed suicide. Now remember, she's researching depression and learning through serotonin. So these two events significantly shaped who she is today and have led to her continued effort to lead important discussions about health and diseases of the brain. Dr. King has since spent her life finding ways to both work on topics of the brain and human interaction in various organizations. And she has vowed to always be willing to start the hard conversation. And I would even say the pesky conversations. In spite of her early accomplishments and growing expertise as a brain health expert, Natalie has the energy and passion to give back to the community through leadership, mentorship, and STEM advocacy. She is an advisory board member of the Girls for Science mentorship program and committee member of Black Girls Do STEM. Both organizations empower young girls to learn and pursue careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Dr. King has also been recognized as one of the Magic Johnson Playbook 32 under 32 inductees and served on a variety of other committees and advisory boards for numerous national and international organizations, including UNICEF's Next Gen Women in Biology and the Make-A-Wish Foundation in Illinois. You should know that Dr. King's previous work in medical affairs included appointments in women's health and vascular medicine. And she is also double licensed because not only is she a physician, but she's also licensed as an emergency medical technician. Dr. Natalie King currently works as a medical science liaison in neurology, leading multi-state medical strategies for the Central States region of the United States and positively impacting the lives of real patients every single day. Natalie's ultimate goal is to continue to pave the way for women and men of all ages to pursue their goals and dreams and also achieve optimal brain health and wellness. As the administrator for Healthy Campus 2020 and its principles articulated in Stand Out, and especially that T that speaks to individual mental health and social health, this morning I want to welcome home Dr. Natalie King. Ladies and gentlemen, the next voice you will hear is that of an Oakwoodite who continues to pave a unique career trajectory, showing us that your career dreams can engage not only your talents, but also your passions. Dr. King, we welcome you.
Thank you so much for having me. And Dr. Pollard, that was amazing. I just want to thank the organizers for allowing me to come speak on this very important topic today. And so I know my time is short, and so I'm just going to really dive right in. First, as you just heard from Dr. Pollard, my background and story starts right there at Oakwood. I am a proud alumna of Oakwood University. And now that I am responsible, as she stated, for implementing neuroscience medical strategy across multiple central states, I would be remiss and absolutely delusional to believe that I've made it to where I am without the mentorship and leadership of many of the teachers right there at Oakwood. So some of now who retired and moved on, from Dr. Paul, who saw my potential early to study biology in the first place and suggested I give it a try, to Dr. Londa Schmidt, who took me under her wing as a freshman, no less, to help her serve her microbiology and molecular biology students, to Dr. Rand and Dr. Gulo, who fought tirelessly to ensure Oakwood's biology students obtained research experience and exposure at some of the nation's best institutions before even graduating undergrad, something that we know is very important for STEM students. To Dr. Hamilton, may he rest in peace, who walked us through the systems of the body in physiology class and got me interested in neuroscience in the first place. The list goes on, and as I stated, I simply wouldn't be here without these key people who served as mentors and guides along my STEM journey. These mentors or teachers being willing to share their time, their energy, their resources with a student like me, a woman, an underrepresented minority. I'm just one example, but the research shows us time and time again that mentorship is so important to ensuring women and underrepresented minorities like myself not just become interested in STEM fields, but really persist and succeed long past graduation. So I understand the audience is a bit of a mix of students and administrators and faculty. And so I'll do my best to share insights or best practices important for each, because I would say the key takeaway should be that mentorship requires everyone. I'll start with my students first, but of course, this can be applied to faculty as well. Start with where you are. Expand your idea of who could be a mentor for you. As you progress in your STEM journey, know that mentorship may not always be this formal, structured program. And, that's okay too. It may not always be the person at the very top, and many mentors can be found just a few steps ahead of you. In addition, know that your mentors may not always look like you, right? They may not always have the same background that you have. Be willing to expand your mind to include others in your pursuit of STEM career success. So I previously described a scenario where I had the privilege of being mentored by great, strong men and women of color who, not only set me on the path to career greatness, but also helped to give me a sense of identity rooted in Black excellence, studying at an HBCU, a Christian HBCU. However, the reality is, as you reach higher levels of success, and this is for my faculty as well, mentors will come in all shades and they'll come from all walks of life. And so while it's great to have a mentor that looks like you and can offer some level of, psychological safety based on shared experiences and commonality, also pay attention to who is right around you, who may not look like you. Maybe they do look like you, but also they're still willing to help you and share advice. Figure out where your gaps are and essentially identify those people who could be able to assist you. So that's the first one. And that really leads me to the second insight for my students, also for my faculty. I'll call it enter to learn, depart to serve. At this point, I am positive that that phrase has been drilled into you many times from the day you step foot onto that campus. It's a powerful motto shared by numerous HBCUs. And while there's some obvious application when it comes to, applying it to your personal career development, I'd like to challenge you to think about that phrase as the ultimate cycle of mentorship. You enter into the mentor-mentee relationship with the goal of learning and being guided, but the next step is for you to reach back and mentor someone else who is coming just behind you. This is especially important when we think of women and underrepresented minorities in STEM. Always consider the part you play in inspiring the next generation of students and making sure you share what you've learned. That's how we keep the pipeline of brilliant minds in STEM careers going. And it ultimately creates what's called a networked approach, which even when we think about the brain, it creates a stronger connection and an overall greater output. According to the research, a networked approach that includes faculty and previous students and even new students all contributing produces more and better quality mentoring. So why is all of this important? As you heard a minute ago, Dr. Pollard read off a lot of amazing statistics, and depending on where you find your sources, you'll hear that sliced and diced in many ways. And as someone who deals with data on a daily basis, I thought it would be important to share some of those numbers once again. While, what I say next is going to, highlight significant progress over the last 10 years, so we can be thankful for that. But I still want to make it very clear that we are trailing significantly behind our counterparts of other races. So according to the Pew Research Center, using an incredibly broad definition of the STEM workforce, probably more broad than what was earlier described, women now make up roughly half of all US workers in STEM occupations. Though their presence, and especially those considered underrepresented, also varies widely across occupational clusters and educational levels, as was mentioned previously. And especially when we think about the areas with the largest job growth, so areas like computer science, our representation in those fields are even more dismal and alarming. Blacks make up roughly 11 to 12% of the US workforce overall, but represent just 9% of STEM workers. While Hispanics comprise 16% of the US workforce, they make up only 7% of all STEM workers. And among employed adults with a bachelor's degree or higher, Blacks are just 7% and Hispanics are 6% of the STEM workforce. So if we look and bring it into my field in particular, the field of neuroscience, Blacks hold just 2 to 3% of all neuro bachelor degrees. Hispanics roughly 5 to 10%, and my goodness, American Indian and Alaska Natives from 0 to less than 1/10 of a percent. That is insane. All compared to 55 to 60% of those who are Caucasian. We've got to do better. And we all know that barriers exist, which is why now for the remainder of the time, I'm going to move on to the faculty and administrators who are tasked with encouraging participation and persistence of these groups in the STEM fields. Best practices like the ones I'll share are quite imperative. The disclaimer, of course, it's not an exhaustive list. I've only got 10 minutes with you guys, but please keep in mind, these are the ones that continue to filter to the top. So when working with women and underrepresented populations, it's number one important to establish formal mentor training. What you consider to be great mentorship may not necessarily align with what others perceive as support. Learn the skills to build trust and respect on both sides of the relationship. This is especially relevant when we think about people coming from varied lived experiences, having unique perspectives that can ultimately affect the way they receive feedback, for instance, or hear the comments and internalize those comments. Build emotional intelligence into your mentoring initiatives to support cross-gender, cross-class, cross-race, and cross-identity experiences. Number 2 builds on number 1. Be real and authentic. This is extremely important when we're discussing the hard sciences or within the STEM fields. Mentees and your fellow STEM associates right there in your departments need to hear that you've struggled and fallen short as well, and have a better understanding of what to expect from working in these spaces where they will likely be the only or one of a few women or people of color. In my graduate career, I did thousands of experiments, as Dr. Pollard described earlier, my work in neuroscience and brain function. And if I'm completely honest, a great majority of those experiments failed. I didn't get into every program I applied for. I certainly didn't pass every test from my courses. I'm sure some of my professors could attest to that. And learning early that it's okay to fail, pick yourself back up and try again is probably the ultimate lesson you can teach anyone going into STEM careers. And the ultimate lesson you can remember working in these spaces as well. Encourage them to build resilience and build it early. Third, there are 3 key phases I think every institution should pay most attention to. These are the points in time when women and underrepresented minorities can be sort of siphoned off and be discouraged to participate as well as persist in the STEM fields. First, when they first arrive to college, do they originally feel a sense of belonging to the STEM departments? Do they ultimately have the capacity or feel they have the capacity to learn the information and do well in those careers? It's critical to not assume students have been exposed to these careers in the past and really fully understand and understand their possibilities. I mentioned Dr. Paul earlier. He was one of those people that realized just because I was exposed previously didn't mean that I had an idea of what that could look like for me. The next phase is when they're selecting their majors. Do they believe they can succeed in all of the courses to complete that major? And most importantly, do they have the resources and financial support to do so? Or are departments still, operating under a bit of a weeding out process of students during that first semester or two? If so, you're likely losing a lot of really diverse talent. And the same is true for STEM departments. Are faculty and teachers feeling supported and nurtured to go to higher levels of their careers as well? Are there regular opportunities for growth and stretch assignments offered to those making an impact within the departments? Or even flexibility for those who want to continue achieving, but also want to take time to, say, for instance, start a family? We're talking about women. That's another key area where people can be siphoned off from the field. Very key considerations that many male colleagues rarely have to tend with. So all of these factors are relevant. The final stage is once they've completed the degree and are now making decisions about where they'll go after college. According to the literature, people of color are significantly underrepresented in US STEM leadership positions as well. And that is across industry, it's across academia, it's also across the federal workforce, which ultimately stifles creativity and innovation in many of the fastest growing fields. So it's not just about the numbers, it's about what society loses when we aren't at the table. These critical points in time are where departments, advisors, faculty, program heads, need to really do deep dives and see if there's more that can be done to stop the leaky pipeline, as it's called. It's one thing to increase the numbers of women and minority groups. It's quite another to help them persist and succeed in those fields. And finally, sustainability of your programs and efforts. You guys are steeped in this work and obviously already know the value of mentoring to ensure the trends continue to positively go in the right direction. However, continually having to reinvent the wheel every time someone leaves or retires does not adequately sustain a robust pipeline of talent, as we all know. So providing the dollars and setting up the systems and the infrastructure that'll live on beyond you and your group's passion is very, very key. Implement digital tools. I know COVID kind of thrust us into that moment, but implement digital tools to potentially increase your impact and continue to search out new and innovative ways to engage this generation of scholars. We all know that most of the scholars in this day and age are very, very computer savvy. They've got all types of skills that we could never even think about a few years ago. This is how you continue to move the needle into the future and make significant impact over time. So even with all of the work that's been done, we all know there's more work to do, basically. You know, I left Oakwood, became one of the first Black Latino women in my PhD neuroscience program, as was mentioned. The first and only to this day, like I said, to be and pretty much complete that degree. I think that's insane. You know, it's been a consistent thing henceforth. First, only Black Latino women in many rooms and programs and conferences since. It's 2021. We've got to do better. STEM students, we need you. We need you in the labs curing diseases. We need you at tech companies bringing science and morals to the forefront. We need you at HBCUs teaching the next generation of students. I need you. I need you in industry creating great therapies for people around the world. To my faculty, admin, program directors, do not lose the faith. Support one another and lift each other up. Keep each other informed of opportunities. And when there's a chance to mentor or sponsor a young woman or man, take it because you will likely learn something new in that relationship as well. And you may be directly responsible for someone's step into greatness. We thank you for your passion and we know it's not easy, but if I am honest, if it were not for people like you, there would simply be no me. So I want to thank you guys once again for allowing me to have this moment of your time, and I will pass it back over to the moderator.
Thank you so much, Dr. King. We really enjoyed that. And she's so right. You've got to find someone to connect with and someone who can mentor you in all aspects to be successful. It's so fitting that we are here doing this in March, which is International Women's Day, as we celebrate women in history and women in this country, women who are doing great things in the STEM field. I'm going to go on with the program by introducing the department chairs of the STEM programs there at Oakwood University. We have Dr. Marlon Rim with the chemistry department. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We have Dr. Lisa James with math and computer science. How are you, Dr. James? Great. Then we've got Dr. Elaine Vanderpool with biological science. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I must say that my heart is definitely with sciences. My beginning was growing up literally in that chemistry department at La Sierra University and Oakwood University. My father was chair of both departments at one time or another. So y'all do great work, and I love the STEM programs there. We're going to now introduce our panelists and start with some question answering. We have Dr. Sonia Ben, who's oncologist and hematologist. Good afternoon, Dr. Ben.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. And we've got Dr., and excuse me if I mispronounce your name, just correct me, Dr. Thesakar Antoine Reed, who's medical director of microbiology and immunology.
Hi, yes, that was right. That's okay, Antoine Reed. You got it right.
Okay, great. And then we have Brianna Scott, who's project engineer.
Good
afternoon, Brianna.
Good afternoon.
And we have our final panelist, who you just heard from, Dr. Natalie King, medical science liaison in neurology. Dr. King?
Thanks for having me back.
Okay, ladies, we've got a couple of questions here that we are going to start off with. And actually, I guess we'll start off with Dr. Ben, maybe the first question. Did you face challenges as a Black woman in STEM?
I did. And I want to echo what Dr. King said about being accepting of failure and using those times to be incentivized and actually catapulted to do better. You know, I recall I was a biochemistry major, and I specifically recall taking my first biochemistry exam in medical school and actually getting a D. And so that was somewhat humbling, but I went to the professor, and the first thing he asked me was, what school did I go to? And I found that very insulting. And, you know, but it was great. It incentivized me because, you know, it was as though, no, you're not going to put down Oakwood University. And so I realized at that point that I had to change my entire technique in terms of learning. I had to mingle with others. I had to study with others. And from then on, I also had to prove myself. And so now in a class of 150 people, you know, I had to come back and show him that it was not reflective. My grade was not reflective of the education that I had received. And so fortunately and thankfully, from then on, just having changed my technique and having to show that I could do better, I actually was able to get A's for the remainder of biochemistry and prove that, you know, that Oakwood University gave me a good education, but also to use that failure, you know, to use that time to show that I could do better, and that was not going to guide me for the rest of the 4 years that I was going to spend in medical school. So that was just one simple example. There are many others, but that was just an early example of what I experienced coming out of the university.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Antoine Reed, basically going to ask you the same question. What are the challenges you faced as a Black woman in STEM?
Yeah, I have a story kind of similar because, you know, we all go to Oakwood and we have so much support. You know, our professors expect the best. Our colleagues are supportive. So leaving the HBCU environment where everyone is rooting for you and going to a PWI where everyone is almost expecting you not to perform, it was quite a culture shock. I remember in grad school, I was taking a molecular course, and you know, I had to meet with my GDS every test period, and he kept saying to me, you know, I don't think you took this test. And I was like, no, I'm sure I did. He was like, no, I don't think you took it. And I said, well, why do you keep saying that? He was like, oh, actually you did. I was looking for you in the C range, but you actually made the second highest grade on the test. And so that goes to, you know, just to echo that point of sometimes people have these expectations of you that are just so low. And so as a grad student, you are constantly, as a minority woman in STEM, you are constantly going up against this negative expectation that people have of you because, one, they've never heard of, you know, this HBCU in Huntsville, Alabama. So the expectation is already lower. And then, you know, you're one of maybe 10 brown faces in a department. So it's this constant back and forth of always proving yourself, of always proving that you are worth that scholarship that you got to be a part of this program. You know, dealing with the microaggressions, has been a very tough thing for me. And so, you know, being able to go to someone and say, is that me? Or is this like a real thing that, you know, this professor might have an issue with Black and brown students, you know? So these are some of the, you know, stories, and they just constantly build on each other. Like at every level, it's like the stories almost get more and more unbelievable. And so it's, you know, making sure that one, I am aware and confident in my role, and two, not being afraid to call those microaggressions out, because they do exist and people sometimes don't have the best perception of you, but you know what you bring to the table. And you know your spot is well earned. I don't think there's one woman on this screen that has not worked their tail off to get that doctor in front of their name. And so the fact that we constantly have to fight against those people that have such low expectations of us, despite all the hard work and effort that we put forth, it can sometimes be a challenge. But it never stops. But just know you're doing the right thing. You know, you have more than enough to make you successful.
Wow, those are really amazing stories that you hear. All right, I'm going to go on to Brianna Scott. Brianna, I'm going to ask you a little different question here. Based on your experience, what piece of advice would you give your former self?
I think I would give myself the advice to really be an advocate for myself. Similar to the other woman that recently spoke, I similarly went through an experience where I was devalued, my work, and trying to provide work that was more related to maybe someone who was an intern, and I really had to speak up and be an advocate to myself, and because nobody else would really do that for me. I think building relationships with people and getting feedback from others can help with that. And I also think that through those successful relationships, you can not only help yourself, but others as well. So.
Okay. We're going on now to Dr. King. I'm going to ask you basically the same question. Based on your experience, what piece of advice would you give your former self?
Yeah, no, it's an amazing question. I think one of the things I would focus on is the idea of being a multifaceted person and bringing your full self to whatever situation that comes up. Similar to Dr. Jessica, we actually went to the same grad school and we were together much of the time. And so I understand what she's talking about in terms of some of those microaggressions and things like that. And I think in terms of telling my younger self, it's okay to be more than one thing. It's okay to be, for instance, a mom and also at the top of your game in your field, and just kind of having this sense that you can be at what you want to be and there is no box. I think if I had learned that earlier, I wouldn't have had so much of a struggle coming out of grad school and going through that process. I just remember one specific scenario in grad school that actually almost got me kicked out, where I was I was doing my graduate work, but I was also modeling, and I remember I made the mistake of bringing a fashion magazine to the lab. And it was like this big thing, and my program directors found out and they're like, we just don't think she's focused enough. And it was this whole thing. And I think it's just this idea that you can't be more than one thing at one time. You can't hold multiple hats and hold multiple trains of thought. I think that's something that's like mostly attached to Black women. Like, certainly you can't be this and that. Just sharing that with my younger self and getting comfortable with that earlier, I think would have been great.
Great advice. Okay, Dr. Ben, we're going to go back to you. What advice would you give to students navigating STEM, especially young women and students of color?
Right. So a number of things. One is to definitely surround yourself with like-minded people. It's okay to integrate, to assimilate, to be with people who not necessarily want to do the same career choice, but people who have, these goals, similar goals as you, and also to nurture yourself. It's okay to fail, but it's not to allow that failure to hold you back. Use that as a catalyst that these things happen, that you're human, that you can rebound. And I like the word that Dr. King used, resilience. That's so important. And so those things are important. The other thing is to, occupy yourself. Even when I was there at Oakwood, every summer did something different, got out one summer at Birmingham, another summer in New York, another summer at Emory, just getting involved and doing those things that can not just help your CV, but help you, help you be with others who are successful and kind of help you decide where you want to be. And you may not know. I've made different career choices and realized that physical medicine and rehab was not for me. Cardiology was not for me. And so it's okay to change. It's okay to feel a different way at different times. And that's all part of the evolution of it, and so it's just nurture yourself. It's okay to fail. Keep going, be resilient, be accepting, and most of all, be human.
That's important advice because we put so much pressure on ourselves as women that we can't fail, that we have to be successful at all times and we have to be at the top. And that's enough to sometimes make you almost go crazy. So, Dr. King, I'm sure that you've heard people say that before. Okay, Dr. Antoine Reed, we're going to ask you the same question again. Is basically, what advice would you give to students navigating this STEM career, especially those of women and those of color?
I agree with all the points that were made. Another thing is always building a network. So always be ready to network with individuals, those that look like you and those that don't. At the end of the day, you never know where those relationships may lead. So never take the ability to introduce yourself to someone or even find out what someone does, because that's how we tend to get exposure to other fields outside of the box that we really know. And like she said, never be afraid of failure. And never be afraid to try new things. Sometimes we kind of have this one, like this tunnel vision of this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. And sometimes there could be something that is a much better fit for you. So just not being afraid to step outside of what you already know, to explore new things.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Scott, do you have any tips for best practices for mentoring women in STEM? And if you do, what are they?
Yes, I think it's very important, and I think Dr. King covered this in her discussion, to really seek out mentors. I guess from starting out, when I first started out in my first company, I didn't really take advantage of this, and a lot of times I felt kind of lost. And then I moved on to another company, and I was able to be more intentional about it. And I said, I looked around, the people I'm working with, and I saw things and different people that I kind of admired, and I saw myself either becoming one day. And so I, just went and asked them to be my mentor. And so I think being intentional about being mentors is really key. Finding somebody who you admire, I think that's important. And I think it's kind of like a dating relationship, trying to figure out who works, with your personality, and maybe even finding somebody who's the opposite of you to see if you could adapt and grow in different ways that, your mentor may have that's different from you. So I think those are just a couple of tips and practices that people can look for. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. Dr. King, I'm going to ask you the same question about any tips for best practices for mentoring women in STEM, what they are. Your microphone, I believe, is muted.
You would think I know this by now in a pandemic. I would say beyond the ones that I listed earlier, I think one of the biggest things to do, especially as you go further and further into your career, helping young women understand the difference between even mentorship and sponsorship. I've realized, I think, if you're going from your high school years to your college years, I think, the idea of mentoring and finding those guides along the way are very, very, very key. And of course, you'll continue to do that. I don't think it's a process that ever really stops. But as you go higher in your career success, you want to really find those people who are going to mention your name in rooms that you're not in. And that's what a sponsor would do. Being able to help them figure out how to navigate, the workforce after they've received their degrees and received, all of these accolades. How do you navigate the space that you're now about to be in? And I think it's a combination of mentorship and sponsorship. But yeah, there's so many that have been already listed from the rest of the group. I don't know if I would necessarily add additional insight on top of that, but I think there's so many things, be resilient, know that there is no box. You know, we weren't born in boxes. And so you really shouldn't just manually put yourself into one. Know that there's a lot of things out there and you can be exposed to all of them if you want to be. And if you have access to those things. And then just know that you belong, know that you belong in the room. I think, and many of us on the panel can probably attest to this, that, with the different rooms that we've been able to be in, sometimes we have our own imposter syndrome around, should I be here? Are they looking at me? What are they thinking? And it's like, you know what? You deserve to be there. You've earned your spot to be there. Allow yourself to be and play in that space, and don't put yourself at a disadvantage thinking that you don't deserve to be there.
All right, perfect. Dr. Ben, we're going to go back to you. Did you have any mentors that helped solidify your career choices?
Yes, my path was a little different. I can't recall necessarily anything that made me want to specifically be a medical doctor, but it was almost innate, but I did. And once I got to Oakwood University, it was interesting because we had the professors there that were very, very good, really prepared us. There was Dr. Guebu, who was, head of the biochemistry department, who really helped. And then, I have to mention Dr. Longhing, because you were no slouch taking chemistry from Dr. Longhing. It was understood that you had to come with your best game. And, that really also helped me get that courage that I needed, because his exams were really, really difficult. It made you really come prepared. And that's what we needed in medical school. He was one of those professors that made you think on your examinations and enjoyed it. He enjoyed giving us those tough tests, but yet you can go and sit in his office and talk to him and laugh. So it was like the best of both worlds, which I was not going to get in medical school, where you just had to come with your best game, but you couldn't come back and get that nurturing aspect of it also. And so, that helped to really prepare you just comprehensively as you transitioned on. And so I appreciate all that nourishment that we received only at an HBCU, and one of the things I was just talking about last week is we had a cadaver. Who has that at an age? I had a cadaver. When I went to gross anatomy in med school, that was not my first time. Up to now, there are universities that don't offer a cadaver in college. And so all those things helped prepare us. And really, those were my mentors, if you will, because they really prepared you for what was upcoming.
Okay, Dr. Antoine Reed, asking you the same question. Let's talk about your mentors and how they helped you.
So I have been really fortunate to have a nice village of mentors, starting from Oakwood. Dr. Elaine Vanterpool has been in my corner and encouraging me from day one. I don't know, I let my Bunsen burner catch on fire when I was in her class. And for some reason, doing that in micro, and now, 10 years later, being a clinical microbiologist, you would think that that would have been a sign to her to say, oh, this girl. But no, she kept encouraging me. And I honestly do not think I would be where I am today if it was not for her mentorship. Another Oakwood professor that really took me under her wings and was extremely tough on me was Dr. Rand. I honestly used to think that she was picking on me because if I was a little late, Dr. Rand would lecture me. Anything, she was just always so tough. And it was, again, because she saw something in me. And just, again, fast forward, when I graduated, Dr. Wren was the one that hooded me in my hooding ceremony. And so just having those relationships with those two women were really influential. When I got to the stage of fellowship, I was blessed with another mentor, Tasha Downey, she's an educator, but also a lawyer. And so she not only mentored me on how to be a professional woman, but how to carry myself. We went shopping for suits and we talked about, what you wear at different dinners, because now you're at a level where the events change. And so you have to know how to navigate those spaces. And then when I became a clinical microbiologist, I had another mentor, Dr. Clarissa Colbrith, and she has literally schooled me in everything that it means to be a clinical microbiologist, from making hard decisions under a tough timeline, to be able to navigate the space of being a professional and a wife. These women all come together have really made me who I am. And honestly, I would not be who I am as a leader, as a clinical practitioner, as a mentor, if they hadn't set those examples for me. So I'm really, really grateful. I believe mentorship is so important, and I'm always looking for a new mentor. I'm entering into this phase of my life where I'm about to become a mom, and so with that on my plate, I'm looking for women to help me navigate this balance of being a professional and a mom, because that's a whole new world. But yeah, I'm definitely grateful to my mentors. They have been super, super influential in helping me get to where I am, and anytime I get a chance to talk about them or mention their name, I do, because they're amazing.
Well, that's awesome. And congratulations on
Thank you.
becoming a mother. It's a journey. It's a journey.
Thank you.
We're about out of time here, but I want to wrap up real quick, Brianna, real quick. If you can give us some of your mentors and how they helped you.
So I think I have a different, perspective. About 9-10 years ago, my mom passed. And when that happened, I kind of, retreated to myself. And so I didn't really seek out a lot of mentorships. I think here lately, like I spoke before, been very intentional about making connections and building relationships. And through my most recent mentorships, I've been able to, not just have a one route view, and I've been open to trying different things, and also been able to see some of my strengths and skills that are leading me to different directions that I see myself being. So I definitely agree with the women who have spoke and said, mentorships are important. And most recently, I definitely think that the mentors I have, I've been helping solidify my career choices and different new career choices that I'm looking to go into. So I definitely think that's important.
All right. Thank you so much. Ladies, we so appreciate your time and all your great advice that you have given us. As you talked about the challenge that you have faced, you are all amazing ladies in this STEM field that are opening doors and continue to blaze away. We appreciate you so much. All right. I believe Karen is next on our panel for Dr. Karen Ben.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. And Kim, oh my goodness, Kim, my baby sister Kim, grew up with our family. My brother, one of my brother's good friends. I am so thankful that you took the time to be with us today and to moderate this event for us. I am so thankful. A special thank you to all of these wonderful women, these amazing Oakwood alums. I am so thankful for our keynote presenter, Dr. Natalie King. She was amazing with us on WJOU this morning, as well as today, for her keynote address and being on the panel. I also want to thank our panelists, Miss Brianna Scott, Dr. Antoine Reed, and my baby sister, Dr. Sonia Ben, who I'm so proud of. And so I thank you all for taking your time out of your so busy schedules. I begged my sister to adjust her clinical practice, and she did. And I know that our students, our faculty have really been blessed by your presentations today. On behalf of the advanced team, we want to thank you. We have a plaque that will be in your mail that was going to be awarded to you that specifically just reads to and your name for her distinguished work as a woman leader in STEM. So thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Nominees for Women Leaders in STEM. Shaddai Forrester hails from Hartford, Connecticut. She is a freshman mathematics and music major. After graduation from Oakwood University, she plans to continue her studies in mathematics education at the University of Connecticut or Johns Hopkins School of Education. Her passion in life is to bring others closer to Christ through music and the knowledge of mathematics. Miss Haiti Holiday Parker. Her hometown is New York City, New York. With a major in computer science, she came to Oakwood University in August of 2019. Her academic plans are to finish university within the next few years and, if possible, continue on with higher education. She states that this path that she began in 2019 has given her existence new challenges, new smiles, brain growth, confusion in a good way, and a lot of life. And she thanks Oakwood University for this new blessing she receives every day. Demaya Lachey Calvert is from Huntsville, Alabama, with a major in applied mathematics engineering and a graduation date of May 2023. She considers herself to be a very outspoken person. Tony Jade Randall from St. Louis, Missouri, with a major in mathematics and an entrepreneurship minor. She came to Oakwood in 2018 and will be graduating spring 2022. She is an aspiring educator and plans on obtaining a master's in mathematics and becoming a mathematics professor. She also wants to start her own tutoring business and a nonprofit organization that mentors youth and gives aid to those who are homeless through such means as food and clothing. Simone Stewart hails from Nashville, Tennessee. Her major is biology. She is classified as a senior and will be graduating May 2021. After graduation, Simone plans on attending the University of Alabama in Birmingham School of Dentistry. She's always been interested in reconstructive surgery and aspires to become an oral maxillofacial surgeon in a hospital setting. However, she also has an interest in endodontics. She would love to work in underserved communities to educate individuals about oral health. Christina Baines from Harrisburg, North Carolina. She is a biology major and will complete her studies at Oakwood University in December of 2021. After college, she plans on advancing her career and going to medical school to become a pediatric cardiothoracic surgeon. This aspiration is because she and her cousin entered this world already at a disadvantage. 75% of newborns are born with heart murmurs, and she was one of them, which has inspired her to become a cardiothoracic surgeon. Courtney Samantha Garnett. She is from Orlando, Florida, with a major in general biology. She is classified as a graduating senior and will complete her studies May 2021. She has been working as a biology teacher assistant since her sophomore year. This year, she is working as the teacher's assistant with a parasitology class and lab. Her long-term goal is to be accepted into medical school and complete a residency in obstetrics and gynecology with a specialty in maternal fetal surgery. At the end of last semester, she made the decision to graduate this spring as opposed to the spring of 2022. Nana Yasaki Opoku is from the country of Ghana. She is a biochemistry major and will be graduating in May of 2021. Currently, she is a part of the Chemistry Club, Journal Club, and the African Students Association. She plans to take a gap year next year to work in her industry. Jade Roberts from Huntsville, Alabama. She is a biochemistry major and will be graduating May 2022. After obtaining her Bachelor of Science degree, she plans on pursuing an MD PhD where she will be focusing on issues or conditions related to women's health, especially those affecting minorities. As of right now, she would like to become an obstetrician gynecologist. She has always been interested in the health disparities that are affecting minorities, especially Black women, and how certain mutations, whether hereditary or environmental, have caused various problems that are primarily present in women. This is her motivation for pursuing medicine. Asia Bookall. She is from Dania Beach, Florida, a biochemistry major with a graduation date of May 2021. She is the president and founder of the Neuroscience Club, secretary of the Chemistry Club, executive board member of the OU All-Stars cheerleading team, Alpha Chi Honor Society member, and soprano in the Oakwood Aeolians. It is her desire to obtain a Master's of Arts in Teaching with a concentration in chemistry and teach high school chemistry. Educating and spreading knowledge has always been one of her passions. Our last nominee is Jewel Simone Harrison from Huntsville, Alabama. She is a junior biochemistry major with a graduation date of May 2022. She is a member of the Aeolians, MAPS, Interfaith Mission Service, Black Women Collective, and Alpha Chi. After graduation, she plans to obtain her PhD and continue on to do scientific research in the field of plasma science. She wants to return to Oakwood University as a professor in the chemistry department. She also plans to start a nonprofit to encourage Black women to enter STEM.
Just a minute. Sorry, my mic was muted. I'm going to announce the winners now. I apologize about that. I'm going to start with second place. Our second place winner is Tony Randall. Congratulations, Miss Tony Randall. And our first place winner is Simone Stewart. Congratulations, Simone. Ladies, you have done amazing, and you have amazing careers lined up in front of you.
What an amazing program this has been. I was simply inspired as I listened. Now, it's clear to me that the faculty development literature clearly documents the utility and the salience of one-on-one traditional approach to mentoring. But this traditional approach to mentoring does fail to acknowledge the importance of multiple voices in this conversation. And so when you look at the literature on race and gender and minority and diversity issues, you find a certain perspective that I think is captured in the African proverb that says it takes a village. It takes a village. And that Afrocentric approach allows us to end in a space that we are very familiar with, a space that was described by our keynote speaker as this network of support, this flexible network of support that includes aunts and uncles and teachers and preachers, and then individuals like our presenters today who inspired us to think about ourselves in ways that I think will last a lifetime. Ideas of feeling a sense of belonging, challenging the faculty and administrator to provide that setting for our students. The notion that there is reciprocal benefits in mentoring, that idea that takes away the notion of the one-on-one traditional approach, but says that both the mentor and the mentee do benefit from this relationship. The system-based orientation rather than an individualistic orientation, Dr. King reminded us, would outlast individuals who pass through our systems. And so strengthening our systems is a very important aspect of what we learned today. Looking for you, it really captures my imagination, that people do look for us in predefined, pre-expected spaces and places, and that we weren't born in a box, but somehow we strive and struggle and fight to put ourselves in boxes, to limit ourselves by our past or current experiences. But at the end of the day, I like what Dr. Ben said, that just be human. Inspired by what Dr. King said, you can still be this and you can still be that. That you ought to be intentional, Ms. Scott reminded us. Finding someone that you admire and benefit in a way that helps yourself and others. It is very clear to me that today's experience was simply fantastic in its impact on me, and I'm pretty sure all of us who listen. So I want to thank again the organizers. I'm grateful for those who participated for this amazing panel of graduates. And I am convinced, Dr. Antoine Reed, that as you continue your journey, I'm convinced, Dr. King, as you seek to continue to blaze a trail, Dr. Ben, I am absolutely convinced that your work will continue to inspire others. Ms. Scott and our chairs in our departments and our organizers of this program, thank you so very much for what you accomplished today. I know that Ms. Brianna Ben would want me to say that there is a survey in the chat that we want you to complete. This will be very important as we document the work that we're doing. And I am convinced that as we continue in this role in serving others, that women who graduate from Oakwood University, the wonderful students who are currently members of Oakwood University, students here at Oakwood University, will make a difference in this world. What a beautiful world this has been because you have been here and because of today. I would want to invite you to join me in prayer as we close out this tremendous, wonderful session today. Father in heaven, we are so grateful for today. We pray that you will be with each of the participants, each of the current students. And we ask that you will be with those who pass through these gates and now have departed to serve. I pray, Lord, that you will continue to bless them in ways that they cannot now imagine, that you will expand their territory, that you'll take them even to heights greater. And each of them will find in you the strength that they need and will find in you the comfort that they seek as they continue with you in the journey of excellence. We thank you for these blessings in your precious name. Amen.
My name is Kayla Miner, and women empowerment means to me, I would say, a sense of community amongst women, and even just knowing what we're capable of. And sometimes I think we get it twisted that we're not as capable as men, but we are more than capable.
My name is Stell, and women empowerment to me is identifying like your sister or your neighbor, your friend, and being able to lift them up and take them to higher heights.
My name is Taylor Wallace. To me, women empowerment means that we are proving that we are equally as strong as either gender, or that we are even more capable than people think we are.
My name is Courtney. Women empowerment means to me finding what pushes me or any other woman to do what they want to do, what makes them feel like they have the power to do anything.
My friendships with other women helps my empowerment in so many ways. Having that sense of friendship and just support really helps put me through everything in life, whether it be school, my personal life, my relationships, so many different areas.
I think this goes back to like there are certain preconceived notions about women, and sometimes women feel like they can't talk about certain things or they shouldn't be a certain way because of society. And when you band together with other women and you all feel the same way, it forms a community. So I think that's really important.
Courtney is a part of my community, and how would I describe her? I don't think there's enough words to describe her. Courtney is literally the epitome of support. She is there for me. She is, man, it's like she sees me.
Dell is part of my community, and she is one of my favorite people because she is someone that is strong, she's determined. She's taught me that I can do anything that I put my mind to through her example.
A woman a part of my community is my friend Kayla. And in my opinion, I think Kayla is a really kind person, very empathetic, and yeah, just one of the nicest people I've ever met.
A woman a part of my community, her name is Taylor, and I would describe her as in my opinion, a straightforward woman. She knows what she wants, and honestly, she's a very kind person.
I don't know what I would do if Courtney wasn't here.
Having someone that understands what you're going through, that has heard all the stories, knows the background to everything that you're going through, and pushes you all the way through that moment and gets you to the other side of it. Dell has definitely done that on many occasions.
I would say this friendship has got me through tough times, especially recently, going through a breakup, and even just have the support that I've gotten from her, and just we are very relatable in a lot of aspects, and so that has really helped me get through those times as of recently. I think that my friendship with Kayla has gotten me through a lot more tough times than she may be aware of.
By literally pulling me up by the bootstraps and helping me get to where I needed to go.
By having community that supports you, believes in you, and encourages you that you're capable, that means everything.
Community holds you accountable, okay? You need to have people around you that will keep you grounded and level you. You need to have people around you that will help you achieve your goals and push you.
I would say my female friends, I consider them all part of one community. They've helped me in just so many ways because we're all able to relate. I also have my girlfriends who go with me to the gym. That's a community in itself, and that's honestly a big part of my life and what helps me get through a lot of trying and hard times.
Community is someone you can lean on, specifically a community of women, is very important to once again reassure you that the sky is the limit, even though you are, despite the fact that people look at you and go oh, woman, it's a reminder that at the end of the day, you can't change who you are and you can make a difference.
When it comes to community, you get that support and just helpfulness from others.
There's someone that's by your side to let you know that you can do it. And I mean, just having that strength behind you helps you when you feel weak.
Pretty women wonder where my secrets lie.
I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size.
But when I start to tell them,
they think I'm telling lies.
I say,
It's in the reach of my arms,
the span of my hips,
the stride of my step.
the curl of my lips.
I'm a woman.
phenomenally.
Phenomenal woman.
That's me.
I don't shout or jump about.
Or have to talk real loud.
When you see me passing,
it ought to make you proud.
I say,
it's in the click of my heels,
the bend of my hair,
the palm of my hand,
the need for my care.
'Cause I'm a woman.
Phenomenally.
Phenomenal woman.
That's me.
That's me.
That's me.
That's me.